In the world of family law, disputes can often become complex and emotionally charged. Today, we're diving into a gripping case that perfectly illustrates this complexity. A case where the everyday lives of 3 children are teetering on the edge of a legal precipice. This case revolves around a change in residence for these children, a shift from their mother's nurturing arms to their father's protective care. This decision, handed down by the primary judge, was a result of a particular incident that spurred the court's intervention. But as with many family law cases, the story doesn't end there. The mother, not ready to let go, challenged this decision. She appealed, arguing that the judge had overlooked significant aspects of the case. She contended that her deep, meaningful relationships with her children were not given due weight, and the potential impact of their separation from her was underestimated. But the Court of Appeal does not simply review decisions based on emotional arguments. It requires clear grounds for appeal, a demonstration that the primary judge may have erred in some way. So the mother needed to show that the judge either made a mistake in the application of the law or failed to consider all the relevant evidence. She put forth her arguments, her grounds for appeal, with the hope that the court would reconsider its decision. Now the court must scrutinize each appeal ground, each argument she put forth, to determine whether there was indeed an error in the original ruling. The court now must examine each appeal ground raised by the mother. The family had 3 children who were initially living with their father, while spending supervised time with their mother. Despite the seemingly harmonious arrangement, the mother felt a deeper connection with her children and yearned for more. So she tried to alter the parenting orders. She believed that the children would benefit more from living with her, and she fought for it. However, her attempts were met with resistance. The primary judge dismissed her applications, stating that there wasn't a significant change in circumstances to warrant such a shift. This dismissal was a hard blow, but it didn't deter the mother. She believed that the judge had overlooked key factors in his decision, including her meaningful relationship with her children and the potential impact of their separation from her. Determined to fight for her children, she took the next step. She appealed the decision, arguing that there had been procedural unfairness and an erroneous application of legal principles. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in her battle, a chapter filled with legal complexities and emotional turmoil. This led her to appeal on grounds of procedural unfairness and erroneous application of legal principles. The core issue here is the mother's application to change the parenting orders. This brings into focus 2 facets of the legal framework governing such cases. The first is the Rice v. Asplund guideline principles, and the second is Section 117(1) of the Family Law Act of 1975. Now let's unpack these 2 aspects. The Rice v. Asplund principle is a significant tenet in family law. It dictates that for a court to reconsider child arrangement orders, there must be a significant change in circumstances. This principle encourages stability and prevents the constant upheaval of children's lives through successive court applications. In this case, the mother argued that the primary judge failed to give adequate consideration to this principle when dismissing her application to alter the parenting orders. Moving on to the second aspect, Section 117(1) of the Family Law Act of 1975. This section generally posits that each party should bear their own costs in proceedings. However, it leaves room for deviation from this rule if there are reasons to do so. The mother, in this case, sought to deviate from this rule, arguing that she should not be burdened with the costs given the circumstances. Now let's see how these legal rules apply to the case at hand. The judge, after careful consideration, found that the mother's applications to change the parenting orders were not correctly determined due to restrictions imposed by certain orders. This was a critical finding that led the judge to discharge these orders. Thus, these orders were discharged and a rehearing was ordered. The judge ruled that the mother's applications were not correctly determined due to restrictions imposed by certain orders. This pivotal moment in the case was a turning point for the mother and the future of her children. The court found that the primary judge had been constrained by these orders in a way that prevented a proper consideration of the mother's applications. The orders had effectively blocked the mother's attempts to vary the parenting orders, an outcome which the court found to be procedurally unfair. But that's not all. The court also dismissed the mother's application for costs. According to the Family Law Act of 1975, each party should bear their own costs unless there are reasons to deviate from this rule. The court found that the mother had not provided sufficient reasons to justify a departure from this principle. So, despite her partial victory in the appeal, she was left to cover her own legal costs. However, the court's decision did not end there. Recognizing the legal errors that had occurred, the court made the decision to discharge the dismissal order. This meant that the mother's applications were not just dismissed, but that they were never effectively considered in the first place. And so, the court ordered a rehearing. This decision was not taken lightly. The court understood the gravity of the situation, the impact on the children, and the need for a fair and just resolution. Ultimately, the appeal was allowed due to legal errors. The dismissal order and consequential costs orders were discharged, and a rehearing was ordered. This case serves as a stark reminder of the importance of procedural fairness and the correct application of legal principles in family law disputes. And it underscores the crucial role that our legal system plays in ensuring justice is served, even when the path to get there is fraught with challenges.